this morning from the various platforms, be it on Twitter or other platforms. Welcome. If we can then go on to our agenda on regulatory reports. Everyone has got their agenda flighted before them. Can we then move for adoption of the agenda, or if we've got proposals for any changes to the agenda, through a show of hands, can you please indicate if you've got any proposals or if you are happy to move for adoption? Okay, there does not seem to be any proposal for changes to the agenda. Can we have any mover for adoption of the agenda, please? Thank you, Mr. Gumede. And seconder, I see there's somebody else, but I can't see the name. Apologies. It doesn't appear on my screen. Oh, thank you, Mr. Svanda and Mr. Mkhize. Thank you very much. The agenda has officially been adopted. And then if we can then go on to the declaration of interests on all regulatory agenda items, can I just maybe just to remind members to please remember to complete your declaration of interest forms, be it electronically or hard copies, and make sure that you send to Ms. Faye Ngube. Thank you. We're going to start with the Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee agenda. On item 5, we're getting a report from the chairperson of the Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee. If we can then have you, Mr. Mkhize, take us through your report, if you've got a specific report for that, or just the minutes, which is 5.1. Thanks. Over to you, Mr. Mkhize.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good morning, members and colleagues. From my side, it's mainly this time around the minutes. The key items therein have gone through the ER, the previous ER meetings, and they've been approved. Yeah, I will leave it at that. I don't want to pull out any specific item out of those minutes of January 2022.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mkhize. Members, does anyone have any comments of the minutes as presented by Mr. Mkhize? Day of the meeting of the Petroleum Pipeline Subcommittee of 20th January 2022. Do we have any comments or questions or some points we would like clarified by Mr. Mkhize on those specific minutes? I would consider that everyone has read the minutes. Okay, I don't see any hand. I also don't have any comment or questions on the minutes, Mr. Mkhize. So can we all note the minutes? There are no comments or questions on the minutes of the PPS of the 20th of January. So, Ms. Masek,
they cover January 20 and February as well as March. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, it's the minutes of. Let me just open them again. The 20th of January, as well as the. Okay, give us the dates, please, Mr. Mkhize, because I'm scrolling down. Dates of the various minutes. Okay, it's the 20th of January, the 9th of March, and I need to go back to the February now.
The 23rd of March, ma'am.
Okay. Yes, and then the 16th of February, 2022. Is it the 23rd? Did I give the incorrect date there? Okay, I've got here the 9th of March as part of the batch under 5.1.
Yes, ma'am, you're correct. It's 9th of March and the 23rd of March.
Okay, so there's 4 sets of minutes. Okay, thank you very much. And the ones of the 23rd of March. Can we then just note by a show of hands, note those minutes? I'm happy to note. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks everyone. Mr. Mkhize, the minutes have been noted. Thanks very much. If we can then go on to the reports of the Pipe Gas Subcommittee. Ms. Masetti, if I can then hand over to you to present your report and then the various reports that you're submitting to the ER today. Over to you, Ms. Masetti.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning, members. Chairperson, I'm going to start off with the application submitted by SLG Pty Ltd, applying for the maximum price of gas for the period starting from May 2022 until April of 2023. Chairperson, what we are asking the ER to approve is the maximum price that is shown on the first page of the covering submission, and that is on table 1 of that covering submission. And there are components that make up that maximum price, and those components are confidential because they then contribute to the final maximum price that we are asking the energy regulator to approve today. Also, the energy regulator's attention is requested to be focused on table 2. Table 2 again deals with the breakdown, and also the table that deals with the calculation of the trading margin. The trading margin, which is actually based on the benchmark that NERSA uses, which is the Japan Korea marker, the JKM, which is the price of LNG, the spot price of LNG, to compare the South African price with that price as a reference, and also to take into consideration the trading costs that are incurred by the gas trader in South Africa. So those elements are all elements that make up what we call the maximum price. Today, we therefore ask the energy regulator that it approves this maximum price, and note that this maximum price, or approve that this maximum price, is excluding VAT. And when this maximum price is applied, the traders are required to observe the requirements of Section 22, which is price discrimination, and ensure that the discounts that are allowed will be complied with that section of the Act, and that this price that the energy regulator will be approving today will remain in force until a new price is approved, and that the licensee will be required to apply for a new maximum price 4 months before this one gets expired. And we also request that you also approve this decision that I have read out, as well as the reasons for decision that are attached here as Annexure A. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Ms. Masetti. Members, do we have any comments on this report that has just been presented by Ms. Masetti? It's SLG Pty Ltd's application for maximum price of gas for 1 year, for a period of 1 year. If I can see by a show of hands. Yes, Mr. Kumede, please go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, members and colleagues. Chairperson, I'm a member of the committee, but I just thought that, and I also do support the recommendation of the committee, but I just wanted to raise that for both these submissions brought by the chairperson of the PGS, in terms of pricing, that I do have my reservations that I have expressed at the committee, and those still hold. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kumete. That is noted. Do we have any other comment or question from any of the attorneys this morning? Okay. There being no other comment or question, I just wanted to find out, on item clause 4.13, we've, mentioned the fact that there's been some unintended consequences where, for instance, there's one price of gas charged despite the volumes that a person is purchasing or an organization is purchasing. So there are no volume discounts emanating therefrom. So how will this be, be resolved going forward, for instance? And also the concern regarding the trade margin ending up being double the amount of the acquisition of gas price. So are there any ways that we're going to find ways to resolve this, going forward, so that these unintended consequences are managed or addressed? And then under item 5.1, where we talk about comments from the PGS and the action taken, I think there's an error on the first item, first comment, where we've talked about calculation by SLG, CNG, but this one is SLG. The SLCNG is the next application under 6.2. So those are my only comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I'm going to respond to one. I did not manage to write down the others and still scroll through the relevant paragraphs. With regards to the potential double dipping on the trading margin, we have undertaken a process where we revise the methodology itself, and that process was approved by the PGS on the 10th of November this year, and the discussion document is out there on consultation with various stakeholders. The team is still receiving input from various stakeholders on how to refine the current methodology, and also the team will also deal with some of the challenges and errors that were identified in the methodology at the time when it was approved. So that process is underway, and once the consultations are completed, that document and that is refined will then be taken to the subcommittee, and thereafter it will come to the energy regulator for final approval. That is with regards to some of the challenges currently experienced with the methodology, including the reservations that were previously stated by Mr. Gumede insofar as how we determine the trading margin. And all of his input made at the PGS were taken into consideration, and members will still be engaged before the final document is taken for approval. I would like to invite Mr. Nxumalo and his team to then respond to the other two questions asked by Ms. Mpungose. Through you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Ms. Masetti.
Thank you, Chairperson, and morning, everyone. I think the last one that was asked by yourself, Chairperson, relates to the unintended consequences of the methodology. So that process, essentially, I think the issue that you're raising pertains to a method where social gas is actually charging a uniform price to all its customers, irrespective of the volumes that they're consuming. Usually what would happen is that they would sort of recognize or acknowledge each customer in terms of their volumes and charge them according to the volumes that they are consuming. So the concern that has emerged is that Social is doing it differently, or they're planning to do it differently, in the sense that they want to charge one price, and there might be certain impediments or the impact of that to some of the traders might actually be a negative. Now, in terms of what is it that we're doing with that, there is a process that is currently underway, where we've issued a consultation document, to engage the industry and those traders and Social Gas itself with regard to finding a way how we can resolve this matter. So we've got a public hearing, for instance, tomorrow, and as part of the public consultation. So once that process is resolved, it will culminate in a situation where we'll find common ground amongst all these industry stakeholders, including SOSOGAS itself, regarding that situation, and then it will be resolved. Thanks, Chairperson. That's the background to that one.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ngumalo. Members, we've got the report in front of us. It's an application for maximum price of gas for the period of 1 year for SLG Pty Ltd. The recommendation is under 6.1 till 6.17 on page 12 of 12. If we can then just go through the recommendation, is to request the energy regulator to approve SLG Pty Ltd's application for maximum price of gas for the period 01 May 2022 to 30 April 2023, as reflected in the table below. That is table 11, and that shows the price of gas per gigajoule, the trade margin, as well as the trading cost and the maximum price that is being prescribed. That 6.12, that the maximum price will not be adjusted but will remain the same for the duration of the approved period. 3, that the approved maximum price is exclusive of VAT. 4, that discounts are allowed and must be applied in accordance with the non-discrimination provisions of Section 22 of the Gas Act of 2001. That is Act number 48 of 2001. 5, that the date of the ER's decision on this matter becomes the effective date of the maximum price for monitoring purposes, and the maximum price will remain effective until the date of approval of another maximum price by the energy regulator. 6, that the licensee is required to apply for the next maximum price 4 months before the expiry of the currently approved maximum price. And 7, the decision and reasons for decision attached here to as Annexure A, that is reasons for decision for SLG Pty Ltd maximum price of gas for the period of 1 year after approval by the energy regulator. Attached here too, yes. I think the sentence is not complete, Ms. Masetti. The under 6.17, if you can please guide us here. It says the reason for decisions. Are we approving the reasons for decisions and the decision attached here to as an Annexure A? The sentence is incomplete.
Chairperson, I think you captured the essence. The essence is for the energy regulator to approve the decision for the approval of the price as stated, as well as approving the reasons for decision. I think you've captured,
Okay.
Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Yes, we approve also the decision and reasons for decisions attached here to as Annexure A. There you have it, members. If I can see by a show of hands, if we're happy to approve. Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. Thank you, Mr. Sibande. Thank you, Mr. Gumede. Thank you, Madam Sithole. Thank you, Ms. Masetti, and myself. I also move for approval of the item. Thank you. The application by SLG Pty Ltd for maximum price of gas for the period of 1 year have been approved. That is the period from the 1st of May 2022 to the 30th of April 2023. Thank you very much. If we can then go on to the next item, which is 6.2. It's the application by SLCNG Pty Ltd for maximum price of gas for the period of 1 year. For the period of 1 year from 01 May 2022 to the 30th of April 2023. Ms. Masetti, if you can please take us through the item. Over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, this application by SLCNG. SLCNG is the sister company of SLG. For this specific company, it focuses on compressed natural gas in the KZN area, whilst the other one, it sells to the industry. This one, it also sells to, it has a potential to sell to the motor vehicle sector. The method that was applied for coming up with this maximum price, it is the same. They have used the second method of that is contained in the methodology, which is to reference the price of gas to LNG, of which LNG is delivered in the Asian market, in particular the main countries that import LNG in the Asian market being Japan and Korea. And they then use that Japan Korea marker as the benchmark for the South African maximum gas price. And that is shown on table 1, which contains the cost of gas that SLCNG pays its supplier. In addition to that cost of gas, we then get the benchmark price of JKM, as well as the trading cost that are incurred by the gas trader in South Africa, in this case being SLCNG. So the price is the one that is shown on that table 1, as well as in table 2. You will see that the price is slightly higher. However, the natural restriction or the cap for that price, since it is CNG, they usually compare it to selling petrol, and they're usually in terms of the actual price, because now we are approving the maximum. So the actual price is usually 20% or 30% lower than that of diesel and petrol, as they benchmark themselves to those prices when they now compete for the customers in the transport sector. Members are requested to note that all of the challenges that were identified in the implementation of the methodology are being taken care of in this process of refinement of the methodology, and they will be corrected, as well as those specific issues that were raised by the members of the PGS in the PGS meeting of 10 February 2022. They will all be taken into consideration during the finalization of the review or refinement of the methodology. Having said that, members are therefore requested to approve the maximum prices shown on table 1, and must also note that price will not be adjusted. It is just for 1 year, and that the price excludes VAT, and that discounts on this price, since it is a maximum, discounts are allowed so that one complies fully with the regulations insofar as the volumes of gas are concerned, and that the decision of the energy regulator that will be taken today on this price will remain effective until a new price is approved by the energy regulator, and that the licensee will therefore be required to apply for a new price 4 months before the expiry of the price that will be approved today by the energy regulator. And lastly, the energy regulator is requested to therefore approve this decision with all of its elements as read out, as well as approve the reasons for decision as stated in Annexure A. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Ms. Masetti. Do we have any comments or questions, members? By a show of hands, please. If there's anyone with a question or a comment on the item, it is an item for approval. Okay, Ms. Masetti, I see that we don't have any questions or comments on the item. I think the comments that I had on the other item regarding the unintended consequence would apply, so that has already been addressed through your answering as well as Mr. Nxumalo's answers. So personally, I don't have any additional comments on this application. So if we can go on to the recommendations, please, which are under item 6 on page 11 of 12. The recommendations are to request the energy regulator to approve the following: SLCNG Pty Ltd application for maximum price of gas for the period of 01 May 2022 to 30 April 2023, as reflected in the table below. And the table reflects the cost of gas per gigajoule as well as the trading margin, which has been benchmarked to the JKM price, as well as the trading cost, which then determines the actual maximum price of gas allowed. Then item 2, that the maximum price will not be adjusted but will remain the same for the duration of the approved period. 3, that the approved maximum price is exclusive of VAT. 4, that discounts are allowed and must be applied in accordance with the non-discrimination provisions of Section 22 of the Gas Act of 2001, that is Act 48 of 2001. Then item 5, that the date of the ER's decision on this matter becomes the effective date of the maximum price for monitoring purposes, and the maximum price will remain effective until the date of approval of another maximum price by the energy regulator. 6, that the licensee is required to apply for the next maximum price 4 months before the expiry of the currently approved maximum price. And 7, that the decision and reasons for decisions attached here to as Annexure A are approved as well. Thank you. There you have it, members. Can I just see by a show of hands if you are happy to approve, as I have read all the items that we are approving as the ER? Thank you, Mr. Mkhize, Ms. Masetti, Mr. Sibanda, Madam Sithole, and Mr. Gumede and myself. The item has been approved, Ms. Masetti. Thank you very much. The item has been approved. Then if you can take us through item 6.3, which are the minutes of previous meetings. Over to Ms. Masetti.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, I only have one set of minutes to be noted by the ER today, and these are the minutes of the meeting held on the 10th of February 2022. Chairperson, the only issues of substance that appear in these minutes are those that pertain to the refinement of the methodology itself, as we indicated in the previous 2 matters that I have just presented to the energy regulator, where the discussion took place with regards to the challenges in the implementation of the current maximum price methodology and the guidance that was provided by the PGS, and some of the issues really that were discussed pertain to the maximum price applications by the licensees. Those are the key main issues that I just wanted to emphasize, and all of those issues, some of them have just been approved today, and some are still underway and still being processed, and they will come to the ER. Having said that, I would request the members of the ER to note these minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Masetti. Members, are you happy to note the minutes, or do you have any comments or questions on the minutes themselves? Okay, there are no hands to illustrate that there are questions or comments. I also don't have any questions. I think the minutes were quite straightforward and clear. If we can just show by a show of hand then, if we're happy to note the item. Thank you, Mr. Mkhize. Thank you, Madam Masetti, Mr. Sibanda, Madam Sithole, and Mr. Gumede and myself. Thank you. The minutes have been noted, Ms. Masetti. Then if we can go on to the next item. Thank you. We are done with the agenda for the piped gas subcommittee. If we can then go to item 7, which is the report from the chairperson of the electricity subcommittee. We've got minutes that he's going to present. Over to you, Mr. Gumede. I see your hand is up.
Chairperson, yes, my hand had remained up because I just wanted to get clarity. I wasn't too sure whether the issue, I didn't see it on the agenda, whether the issue of the approval of the delegation, maybe just if I could be reminded of the delegation of the approval of the maximum price, that it be delegated to the FTR and PGS, PGR. Was that issue dealt with in the last meeting, or has that issue? I'm just unclear, Chairperson. I can't remember whether that matter was dealt with. And my understanding was that it should have come to ER for referendum approval.
Okay, noted, Mr. Gumede. Ms. Masetti, do you have any answer for Mr. Kumete's question regarding
Thank you,
the
Chair.
delegation for the PGS? Okay.
Thank you, Chairperson. I think that issue that Mr. Kumete is referring to is the calculation of the maximum gas price to be published on a monthly basis. Yes, it was dealt with in the last meeting of the ER. It has now been delegated to the FTRM to confirm the decision of the energy regulator. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Masetti. Mr. Kumete, does that address your question?
Yes, it does, Chairperson. Thank you. And I can then proceed to deal with item 7 as requested.
All right, please go ahead.
So, Chairperson, today, which I think is fairly strange, I'm only coming here with 5 sets of minutes. And these are minutes that go back as far back as 20th of August 2021 up until the 2nd of December 2021. And that will bring us up to date in terms of the minutes. Chairperson, I will take the minutes as read. And also, I think at that particular point in time, all the current members of ER were actually members of the ELS. So I would assume that all of the issues that are reflected in all those 5 sets of minutes would be familiar, that the members would actually be familiar with all of those issues. And therefore, Chair, there is nothing that I would like to go into in terms of detail, and I just want to ask that they all be approved by ER and taken as read. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kumete. Members, we've got the 5 sets of minutes before us. I don't know if anyone would have any specific questions or comments on the minutes. I know all members of the ER are actually members of the ELS. So if there's anyone with any specific comment or questions on any of the meetings of the minutes, we've got the minutes of the 20th of August 2021, the minutes of the 8th of September 2021, and the minutes of the 22nd, 2021, as well as 10 November 2021, as well as the 2nd of December 2021. Any comments or questions? Okay, can we move to note the minutes, please? By a show of hand. Thank you, Mr. Sibanda, Ms. Masetti, Mr. Kumete, and myself, as well as Mr. Mkhize and Madam Sithole. The minutes of the Electricity Subcommittee for the dates 20th August 21, 8th September 21, 22nd September 21, 10 November 2021, as well as 2 December 2021 have been noted. Thank you very much. If we can then go on to... Okay, I think we've come to the end of the open meeting. So if we can go ahead then to attend to closing the meeting to the public, we are done with that regulatory part of the meeting this morning. Thanks.